Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of Teams Like Brighton. Newcastle game has been and gone, a 0-0 draw at home. Still unbeaten at the start of this season. Um, Richie, what were your thoughts on the match?
I think, as you said off camera, it was a good 0-0 draw. It was pretty exciting, I thought. I also thought it was an interesting kind of barometer of where Brighton are at. So obviously Newcastle went from relegation contenders to 11th place finishers last season, and still I think they've picked up only three teams have picked up more points than them in 2022, which is Man City, Liverpool, and Tottenham. So the first half I thought was a pretty even affair, although I thought Brighton probably just edged it, but it was a good kind of game of chess, a bit of a back and forth, and both teams trying to work each other out. But then second half, I thought Brighton were by far the better team, looked way more dangerous. Was so unlucky. Obviously, in the first half, Sully March had an effort cleared off the line. Lallana had a good snapshot, and then the second half, March was denied again. Lallana had a very good header tipped off the line, I think, by Pope, and then Dan Burn blocked Joel Veltman's goal-bound effort. So it was all Brighton. And yeah, I think it would be harsh to say sort of 2 points dropped. But yeah, Brighton definitely will feel the more aggrieved of the two at the end of the match, but still plenty of positives. What about yourself?
Exactly. Yeah, I've more or less the same, really. I was quite impressed with how Newcastle were able to cut off key passes along the channels in the midfield. I thought they read our game quite well, and it was quite hard to break through their defensive wall. I felt like every time you felt like as if we had an opportunity in the box, they always had a plan to mark out the space or read the game well enough to just clear the ball out and just try and keep possession themselves and try and play their own game. I thought the only massive chance we had that we slipped on was the one set up by Matoma. I want to say that Gross took that shot.
Yeah.
I thought that was our best opportunity. I thought Nick Pope was superb. And clearly proved why exactly he thought he was the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, Nick Pope, with the tweet as well, Nick Pope. It was a walking meme on Friday night, and then all of a sudden he pulls out a performance like that. But it clearly shows why they bought him. He is a quality player. He may have a relegation in the CV, but I think he's a quality signing for Newcastle, and you saw it at the weekend. What else can we say? Koru Matoma, I'm loving. He's fearless. He's a fearless winger.
Yeah.
He came in and just played like as if he's been in the Premier League for 20 years. He had no issue at all in the physicality of it. He got into a lot of battles. I thought he did really well against Kieran Trippier, and just seemed to link up with the play so well from the midfield into the final third. And another player that really stood out for me, and I'm pretty sure you agree with me on this, is Sully March.
Yes, I think it's fair to say that he is very much a unheralded player amongst Brighton fans. There's always I think that he has the talent, but I think they feel that he's got another gear and he hasn't reached that gear yet. And it looks like, obviously it's very early stages and it's a small sample size to choose from, but going by pre-season and in the first two games, he looks right on it. And he was personally my man of the match. He could have, on another day, he could have had 2 goals. And then he also, he provided the cross for Lallana in his second half header that was just cleared by Pope. It looks like he's becoming a more well-rounded player. It also looks like his end product is a little bit better, just in terms of whipping in crosses into the box. And he just seems a better player, beating players. Just to one other thing, I think he seems to be actually having more success as a right wing back. even though he's left-footed and before Marc Cucurella came, he was playing at left wing back and he had that very good run up until he got injured in, I think, February 2021 in the Liverpool win. But yeah, he looks like he's in the form of his life right now, and long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been a big fan of Sully March. When in that first season of us in the Premier League, he played without any fear as well. He was a fearless winger for Chris Hughton. He was more than happy to take on the plays. It was just such a shame. I think he had a nasty ankle or knee injury that set him back a bit, and I felt like as if he was rushed back into the team, and I think that set him back a good year. I think in terms of the confidence and the fear and that sort of like that fearless attitude. I know I'm saying that word over and over again in this episode, but I can't say it any better really, because I'm a big fan of Sully March. He has been used a lot around the squads in terms of fitting in with Graham Potter's tactics, and I think he's done the job well. He's done a solid, 7 out of 10 performance week in, week out, and I think there's some people that are just not happy with it. And I remember Glenn Murray saying he got interviewed. I want to say he got asked the question about why do you shout at Solly so much? And I think he replied with, if you see what he does in training, it's frightening. And I want that on the pitch. I want that translated from the training pitch on the field when it comes to match day, because it is frightening. And I was quite surprised when I heard that. I mean, I was a big fan of March anyway, but to hear Glenn Murray saying this guy frightens me when we play against each other in the training pitch. So you can clearly see that there is another gear in him. And I think we are starting to see that. There were talks of him being and getting an England call up under Potter.
Yeah.
And I hope that maybe that does happen. I'm probably clutching at straws, knowing our track record, sadly. But I think he's a really underappreciated, underrated player in the Premier League as a whole, let alone with Brighton. So I'm really excited for him. I hope he just keeps on grasping at this opportunity. We've got a good set of fixtures on our way, and I think he could be really, really crucial to get us going and maintaining our unbeaten run.
Yeah, agreed. And just going back to a point you made about Mitoma. So for me, his impact, it was so good. I actually thought he was a contender for man of the match, even though he was on for the last quarter of the game or so. To make your Premier League debut in that way, and Kieran Trippier is a very, very seasoned pro. He's played in the Champions League. He's played for Atletico Madrid. Quite a few England caps. He is no mug, and he had him on toast, I think, a couple of times. He just and he's no slouch either, Trippier. I love the way that he's like an old-fashioned winger, and he can just go one way and then beat you in the tightest space and in the kind of by the byline in the box, and then, like you say, he set up Gross, and the German probably, after scoring 2 goals at Old Trafford last week, you would have actually expected him to bury that one. But after the match, Graham Potter said that he's going to cause, I think, some defenses, quote, nightmares, and he himself wouldn't want to play against him. So yeah, he had a fantastic impact. Like you say, he's not just gas. He's intelligent as well. He knew kind of what ball to play at the right time, and I hope to see a lot more of him and March, because I think they're a very potent mix right now.
Exactly, and as well, we haven't even seen the likes of Dennis Undav yet and Levi Colwill, so there's clearly a lot of potential there. And I like to say that as well, because I think that shows a lot in terms of our depth. I haven't even talked about Julio Enciso, who scored an absolute worldie against Liverpool's under-23s as well. A beautiful lob over the keeper, assisted by Colwill too from the back. Great ball, well read, well controlled, and well taken. And And again, going back to the whole thing about depth, yes, Matoma's come in. We've got Colwill to come in, Undav to come in, potentially Kozlovsky and Sisso too. So the possibilities are there. Sadly, not Samiento, who picked up another injury. Hopefully, it's nothing. I hope it's nothing more than just a little niggle, 2 weeks rest, and then you're fine again, because I really enjoy watching Samiento play. I think he's a fantastic player. So hopefully we can see more of them. Alzate as well. The depth. I'm loving the depth at this club. I'm getting excited again. I'm getting excited. The pessimism hasn't come in yet. I'm loving it. And there's plenty of opportunity for us to see them all. Before we go any further, before we go to talk about Potter, I don't know if you saw Dan Burns' interview after the match.
Yep.
Very much enjoyed his comment on Tariq Lamptey coming on.
Sorry, I think I missed that one. Apologies. What was
he goes, yes, there's nothing I love more than playing for 70 minutes and then Tariq Lamptey comes on in 30-degree heat.
It was
Love it.
I remember so it's a slight side note. I think people are some people on Twitter are becoming aware that I'm not that technologically advanced. I have quite an old iPhone, and some of my photos that I post from when I take photos of the pitch are not the best. And there was one last season when I was really excited about the prospect of Kel Sherpen, 6'8" goalkeeper of Brighton, standing next to Dan Burn, 6'7". And I finally got the photo. It was West Brom away this January in the FA Cup. And it looks like, you've used a potato. It's terrible quality, photo-wise. But the next thing I wanted to do was get a photo of Lamptey and Burn next to each other. Obviously, Burn no longer at the club, but I wanted to see this kind of little and large. And it was, sorry, that was not that great an anecdote, but it was, that was the thing. One, just on a slight thing on Lamptey, Matoma for me was a lot more effective. And I'm not sure if that is just where Lamptey's at right now, where I don't think he has the same kind of electricity and explosiveness that he had in 2020 when he first signed for Brighton. I just think post-injury, he's maybe not quite as, people just sort of get off their seat because they're so excited about what he can do and he can just, explode into a game. He showed flashes of it, but I think, there was definitely one or two times when Burn was probably thinking, oh, crikey. But yes, and obviously it was good to see the big man, Dan Burn, back in, although he did stop Brighton a couple of times. He did play well.
Yeah. Going back to your Lamptey comment, I do agree to some extent. I think what a lot of people need to appreciate as well is when you have a muscle injury like what Tariq Lamptey has, that sets you back, and you are that pacey, explosive player down the wing. A, it's going to take a lot more time if you want to get it up to that strength, and B as well, sadly, you are going to lose that bit of pace and potentially that hunger to go in for those 50-50 balls. I remember one game, it was actually at Newcastle during the lockdown, and he had Newcastle's defence on strings. And I think he won us a penalty. I want to say 2 penalties. But he kept on winning free kicks. They just didn't know how to handle him. A couple of players won yellow cards. One had to go to the other side so they don't concede another yellow card. And the other had to be substituted. So I think we are going to see Tariq Lamptey come up to that sort of intelligence and being able to play for that, look for those fouls, being able to just wind up the defense. In terms of the explosiveness, I think it's just got to be a case of just you've got to be patient, because that will take time. And muscle injuries that what he suffered are not easy. They're not like ones where you've gone to the gym and you're hurting for a couple of weeks. These things hurt, and if you ping it again, it could cause almost permanent damage. I look back to the likes of Michael Owen, explosive striker, but he kept on coming back. He kept on rushing back from his hamstring injuries, and he lost his pace. And he had to be a bit more of a poacher, which it didn't really work out for him. But I think we've learned a lot in that in terms of the world of sports science and sports medicine. And I think we are seeing Tariq Lamptey very much reaching his potential. And I think we are going to see him again be that explosive player that we will see. But I do think Matoma has that attacking instinct that Lamptey probably doesn't have, which isn't a bad thing. Lamptey by nature is a defender. Matoma is more of a winger / striker. I think he's played up front for Japan and he's delivered on multiple occasions on the big game. Whereas Lamptey's kind of like that attacking mind is wing back, which is completely different, I think. So there's a lot of versatility and a lot of depth, and areas can be covered everywhere on that pitch. And I think that is key to possible. So again, I'm really excited for the season.
Yeah, no, they're definitely, they're definitely a point well made on Lamptey. I think, patience is definitely needed. I think it's more just I was when I started covering Brighton in September 2020, it was Lamptey became my favourite player because I was so excited to see him. I just wanted him to just run past people, and it was just like the road runner, meep meep, just gone. And I think I just want to see that back. But yes, you've put your rational head on there, whereas I've got my fan head on there. So well said.
Yeah, I don't think the roles were reversed there. I'm the Brighton fan here, Richie. Yeah. Yes, and of course, as well, like every other match, no doubt Graham Potter probably might have said a thing or two after the match with you. What were the key outtakes from that?
So I'd say, obviously, he thought Brighton lots of positives, played very well. He kind of said the usual things, and there was no panic about, because I think a couple of questions were leveled at him. Is this the same old Brighton? Kings of expected goals, having lots of opportunities to take us. But he said, they were very close, and Newcastle are a very good team, and on another day they could do it. And it's too early to really get bogged down in that stuff. On kind of players. Obviously, Neil Maupay's been linked with a move to Nottingham Forest. I believe The Athletic originally reported that they're looking to sign him for around 15 million or so. Graham Potter didn't really give an update. Oh, sorry, there's no update, but sometimes he kind of just, he'll just kind of not approach those sort of transfer things. But for this one, he basically said he's mulling things over. There has been interest in him, and obviously he was left out of the squad to play Newcastle, so it does seem like he is off. But then one comment that I thought was quite interesting about Brighton going forward, because if they did, sell Maupay, that would be along with Kukurea and Bissouma, three very good players there. And that's, 100+ million. Are you going to do anything with it? Specifically on the striker, he was asked if is he content with the options he has up front with Danny Welbeck, Dennis Undav, Julio Enciso, and Evan Ferguson. And he said, quote, "I'm always content. I think you have got to look at the squad and look how you can improve. We've got a different mix of players, but there probably isn't another Danny Welbeck in terms of profile. So that is something we may look at if we're going to look anywhere." So, Tom, I'll throw this over to you. What do you, and I can read it back if you want, what's your takeaway from that comment? Do you think that means we won't buy anyone, or we're looking for someone of the stature of a Danny Welbeck to sign, or what do you reckon?
I read that as the latter, the stature of Danny Welbeck, that player with the experience, who could no doubt pass on knowledge to the youngsters so that they could come in and then hopefully in 2-3 years' time they they live up to that expectation. The mentoring's a success, and it's like water off a duck's back the moment they play Premier League football week in, week out. So I think that's where he was going with that. Whether or not we'll see anything this in the summer, I really doubt it. I think we are not a club that buys for the sake of buying. I don't think we're that club that buys to fit, just to tick a box in terms of, oh, we've signed this player who's very good. We very much think about, we need this kind of style player. How are we going to go about it? And we look at the analytics, we look at the science, and I think that's why we're probably. Someone's going to probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but we're probably one of the most profitable clubs in the Premier League in terms of transfers at the moment, with what we've done in the last 2 summer transfer windows and how we've recruited afterwards. So I'm not that concerned in terms of, I'm sure probably some people on Twitter will probably be begging us to say, bring Ibrahimovic, bring someone of that criteria. We've got the money, we could do it, but it doesn't work really. One, Ibrahimovic has got probably zero interest in us coming to Brighton, although I think he will love the South Coast personally. I think he will love taking long walks on the South Downs with his dogs, and taking his family out on Brighton Pier. Great places to go, I think. But I really see Potter probably next season get either giving Welbeck another year on his contract, depending on how he does, or we look for replacements similar to him. And I'm sure you're going to probably ask me the question, who? The answer to that is, I have absolutely no idea. Absolutely no. I have no idea who. I don't think we've got a player there that kind of ticks that box. We've kind of almost gone through this whole generation of players that could do it. We had Welbeck, at one point Peter Crouch, Rooney was playing for Derby. So I think that kind of age of the footballer is going, and I don't think it's what is needed. And I think next summer we'll probably bring in another striker to replace the gap that Welbeck has left in terms of what he's offered on the pitch, not off it. And I think that's probably where we're going to go about it. So I'm sure we'll probably get a 10, 15 million pound striker sign in January, and he gets sent over to USG for 6 months, and then he comes back here. So I think that's probably the approach we'll go. It hasn't harmed us. So, and honestly, I'm not that worried either. I like the idea of us giving the youth a chance. Bloom's put so much money into this, to the point that we haven't actually signed players for the long haul anyway, at times, because he wanted to prioritize the youth recruitment. He wanted to prioritize us becoming like almost a self-sustainable club in terms of, we could bring in a wave of players. Look what happened at Southampton for a bit. They had a ridiculous youth team of players like Lallana, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, Bale. I think that's what Bloom wants to bring in here, and get that sort of like that wave of very, very good, very promising young players in, rather than spending millions on the transfer window, and we get 2, maybe 3 years out of them before something bigger and better comes. And again, you can't blame them for it, because sadly we are a team like Brighton.
You said it. But yeah, I'm
disappointed in myself for saying that.
Just to kind of back that up, the second part of Graham Potter's quote, he said, following on from that sort of Welbeck bit, but we have got some good attacking options. Obviously, Dennis Undav didn't come on against Newcastle. They've still got Evan Ferguson, Julio Enciso, who we believe in. We've still got young players. DeAndre Trossard has played up front as a 9. So then and Karen Matoma can play wide. So there's lots of different profiles from an attacking perspective. But as I say, while the window's open, we've got to keep looking and see what's out there. So, yeah, it does seem like they might trust the options they have. I think the Trossard one is, I think that could be a case of sort of the law of diminishing returns, where he was very successful against Liverpool last season in the 2-2 draw, but I think then they played him against Newcastle in the following game, and he wasn't as effective as a false nine. And then again, and I think it didn't really work. So it's not like a long-term solution, in my opinion. And I guess I throw it back to the point of, if you look at Brighton's squad at the end of last season, including Basuma, including Cucurella, including Mope. Obviously, Mope wasn't starting at the end of it. But as the squad as a whole, are Brighton stronger now than they were then? If you say yes, then that's off the back of the players that they have, being another year experience, adapting to the Premier League, also the loanees coming in, so the Undavs, the Matomas, etc. On the flip side, if it's not as strong, then you ask the question, do Brighton think they can get into the top 10 again with the current squad? That might not be possible if you let your best players go and don't replace them. So it's kind of, the question is, if they're happy with a sort of, I don't know, 12th or something finish or something like that with the current squad, then that's a big achievement, I think. But yeah, I guess the question is, what do you target? Like, what is the kind of parameters of success that they're looking for? And then, judge from it accordingly. Because I think if they want a top 10 thing, then I think they do need to replace these guys. If they are happy with sort of maybe 10th to 15th, then maybe they don't. So, yeah, what do you think about that bit of a ramble?
I do agree. I think the key word here is replace. And I think so many people are so easy to say there is only one option in replacing these players, and that is the transfer window. Do we have someone in the youth system that could do it? Evan Ferguson looks like a very exciting talent. We've got Enciso in. It'd be interesting to see where Kozlowski would fit in as well. The only place where I am concerned is the gap that is left by Marc Cucurella. Not that fussed about the gap that's been left from Basuma, because from the matches that I've seen and what we have in our depth, I think it's good enough. I don't think we will miss him that much. Caicedo seems to be doing the holding role really, really well, and I think he was. Yep, and I think he was solid in those battles in the midfield. I think he was. He read the game so well. So clearly learned a lot from Biss in his 4 or 5 months they had before Basuma left us. But Cucurella is a bigger gap that does need filling, and I do think that needs to come in the transfer window. I can't think of anyone in our youth system that could jump in and play that role convincingly. Probably Cole will at a push, but that's only if he plays in a centre-back role and he drifts out wide, back like what Cucurella was doing at the end of the season. Whether or not you want him to play left-back, I don't think he's that strong. So I do think we need someone who's a bit more of an out-and-out left wing-back, left-back kind of player. So potentially we could get this Villarreal lad in, and I'll be very happy. On topic. So it will be interesting. I mean, in terms of the transfer window, I reserve judgment when the window closes. I think it's ridiculous the fact that it's open when the season starts. It should close before the season starts. To be honest, that's my point, and I agree with Paul Barber on it, because to me it's a distraction. Because you can have a good team there in a good mid-table team that could be pushing for Europe, but if one or two of their key players gets a late bid into a team that's in Europe, well, you know what's going to happen. Transfer request in, and then off they go. And then it's kind of like, right, well, what do we do? Well, you panic buy. So I like to think that we'll probably invest in the left-back position, but I think that is the only position we really need to invest in in the current transfer market. And I know that's probably a very controversial opinion for many Brighton fans to hear. I think we only need to sign one player, even if Mopé goes. Right. Well, enough of us talking about transfers and our wish lists anyway. One person that is definitely more in the know than we are is Daily Express's very own Charlie Parker-Turner. Charlie, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Very good. I think we should just dive straight into this. A lot has happened at the Albion the last week or so, safe to say. What are your overall views on the Albion in this transfer window so far?
Do you know what? From the surface, you'd probably say, oh my God, what's going on? We've sold Basuma, Cucurella. But then you look at what was going to happen anyway, the business model, we one out, and then bring a load in. And Basuma was a given. He was going to go at some point. So then the one out is going to be Cucurella. But then we've signed some good players, and I think we've kept a lot of our core squad. Potter's happy. Potter was always going to say that he's happy. You can't really go against Potter when he's as good as he is. You see what I mean? If that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard, no doubt, about Neal Maupay. First team striker last season, seems to be on the fringes. What do you know about him? There's rumours about him going to Forest potentially.
So, yeah, Forest have agreed a deal. That's sort of in the final knock-ins now. He's not going to be. We all know what Neil's like. He's not going to sit there on the bench and be third choice striker. So I think he's happy for the move. There's the offer from the Italian club that I'm not going to even try and butcher the name of. But now Forest. Oh, that's beautiful, Richie. Yeah. So Forest have come in. They've already signed Emmanuel Dennis. They're happy to take him on. He stays in the Premier League. To be honest, I think I've got no sort of inside scoop on that because it's been really well covered by the big dogs of the industry. So, yeah, it looks like he's going. And if it's not Forest, it will be someone else, in my opinion, anyway. So, barring a collapse of the Forest move, it will be someone else will come in for him. He wants to play. Simple as, really.
Great. And just obviously, thanks so much for coming on again, Charlie. Not again, first time, her. Yeah, I just wondering, can you tell us about any other potential incomings? What else you know ahead of the transfer window shutting on September the 1st?
So I heard you guys chatting about wanting a left back earlier. It seems like Brighton are listening because the left back is the important one. We brought in Levi Colwill. He's seen as a left-sided centre-back and a left back. So that's cover sorted on that department. But talks with Purvis Estupinan are progressing well. I've just sent out a tweet as well about addressing the situation that Nottingham Forest also wanted him, coincidence. But it seems like we're leading the race for him. It's getting into the stages where you'd be disappointed if it didn't happen now, if you're in discussions. And
sorry, just a quick one, because I think last summer Brighton lost out on Nicolas Gonzalez to Fiorentina. Is it kind of another 2-horse or 3-horse race, or what's the kind of?
So realistically, you're getting rid of a left back that's played in the Champions League semi-finals. So there's obviously a lot of interest in him, but most players want to play in the Premier League. So on that basis I think we're leading the race, and then you've got everyone else. And whether or not Nottingham Forest are tied with a team in La Liga or wherever, because I don't know about the European sides interested in him. I know there's European interest, but I don't know specifics on that front. But it seems like it's us at the moment.
And any other potential incomings before the window shuts?
Potter's already sort of ruined the scoop. He said that he wants another forward. He's not desperate for a forward. We're not desperate for anyone. In true Brighton style, we'll do our business when we want to do our business. So Potter wants a forward. I was told previously that we're in the market for someone that might be able to, in a Potter style again, play several different roles. But it seems that Potter was after that sort of young Danny Welbeck rather than just any sort of forward that's available on the market. So I don't have any names. We're interested in several players, and some of them are being out in the media, some of them aren't. It's not worth me naming 10, 15 names or however many, because it's just setting up people to be disappointed if they don't happen, which we're not going to sign 15 forwards. So, yeah, but we are in... Yeah, I know, shock me. But, yeah, we are in the market for a forward. If an available opportunity comes up, we'll pursue them. Potter will have his names that he wants, and so will Bloom. So that's sort of a work in progress. And I think that's lower down the priority list than getting a left back through the door.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the left back is the priority at the moment. Depth isn't really there in comparison to other positions. Whereas when you look at the central midfield role, we do seem to have that depth and people capable enough to fill the gap that Basuma had. Would that be a fair assessment? Do you agree on that?
Yeah, completely. I think we've got enough cover in there. We've not got the a like for like with Basuma, but we've got enough players in there. We've got Jakob Moda that's going to come back in, I think it's next year now, sadly missing the World Cup, but we've got him in there. Alzate, sort of a forgotten star amongst our squad that's held in high regard by Potter and the squad entirely. I know he's playing in the Premier League B at the second, or Premier League 2, however they say it, but he's still highly regarded by the club. We've got cover in there, and the system sort of changed, I think, slightly, where there's more rotation in the middle, whereas Basuma was more, he had one role in there, whereas now it seems a little bit more rotational in the centre of the park, and Lallana looks fitter than ever, which is also a plus compared to last season, where I know we spoke about it previously, Richie, that when is Lallana going to be fully fit? But I think if we can get Lallana to the level of fitness that Welbeck is fit now, where he's at his very peak, then I think we're fine for another season. But then it's another thing for Brighton is, if a player comes up and we want them and they're available, we'll get them. It's just so are we actively pursuing a central midfielder? Potentially, I don't know on that front, but I think we're fairly content in the middle compared to other options, like we said, with left back and up top.
So we've just heard about some of the potential incomings, but Chai, can you just talk through potential exits, loan or transfer exits wise, please?
I think Sherpen is a given. I think we'll probably loan him out again. I don't see it being a permanent, and then keep Tom McGill's third choice behind Jason Steele. Kozlowski is being debated whether to keep him. I think I pronounced that right. Whether we keep him on loan him out, or keep him in the ranks. We've got a lot of young players, so there's always going to be inquiries. There's been a lot of inquiries about Steven Alzate and what the situation with him, both loan and permanent. But I don't think given the central midfield situation previously, we're in absolutely no rush to let him go. He's highly regarded, big contract, big future. Matt Clark will probably be on his way out, loan or permanent. The fact he's playing with the youngsters at the moment probably leads people to jump to their own conclusions on that front. Whereas compared to someone like John Paul Van Heck, he's still in and amongst the side, and he's held in higher regard than Matt Clark, it appears.
Cool. Well, then I think it's safe to say we've got a lot going on. Charlie, hopefully we get to speak to you at the end of this transfer window to talk about any other potential ins and outs at the Amex. Thanks for your time, and have a good one.
Well, thanks very much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. And we'll speak later on this week where we'll be previewing this weekend's action as well. Take care, everyone.